Welcome back to a special RFL investigation, Surveillance Nation, Your Identity Exposed. Now, in the first half of the program, we demonstrated exactly how vulnerable we all are to surveillance. And the reality is practically everything you do leaves a trail of digital footprints that reveals who you are and where you go. In the 11 years since 9/11, this nation, we have struggled to reach that balance between privacy and security. The need for increased protection, coupled with lightning-fast advances when it comes to technology, it's got us to a place where we look back now and realize that we never really had a full-throated debate about what our comfort level as a nation is. Should we scale back some of those tactics or even double down and make them more widespread? Well, tonight we're going to take a crack at that conversation, and joining me now with insights on mass surveillance is our panel. We introduce first to the legal director of the Partnership for Civil Justice Fund, Carl Massinio, and we're also joined by Heidi Bogosian, Executive Director of the National Lawyers Guild. Heidi's upcoming book on surveillance is called Spying on Democracy. And here to represent the security side of the spectrum, Clark Pena, spokesman for the New York City-based security firm Security USA. And we're also joined by the attorney who brought one of the first spying cases against the NYPD 40 years ago, Jethro Eisenstein, who, by the way, is still fighting that case. Folks, thank you all very much. I appreciate a few minutes.
Thank you.
Well, before we talk about the effectiveness and where that blurry line is as to privacy but also security for it, how about is it legal?
What we have currently now, and it's developed rapidly because of rapid advances in technology, is a mass surveillance grid where you have fusion centers being run by the government hand in hand with large corporations, feeding in, aggregating data. Now, for the first time in history, the technology is in place to create a massive profile, a diary, a journal, a running log of everything that we do.
What should your expectation of privacy be today?
Retailers and other corporations are essentially tracking a lot of personal data, and many people aren't aware of the extent to which they wake up in the morning, they go through their day, and everything is imprinted digitally. And I think the first step that people should know is that corporations profit from a lot of this and work in tandem often with the government. So that if the government can't do something lawfully under the current laws, that they may partner with private corporations to get more personal data.
We're evolving with nanotechnology and retinal imprints, that we're going to be driving down the road and they're going to change the ads on billboards to suit us as we're driving down, because they're going to know what I buy, where I go, the car I drive, what my preferences are. Now, some people might like that because they're being targeted from an advertiser, but if I don't like it, hasn't the choice already been made for me?
The problem that I see is that if you draw the circle too broadly, you're addressing a problem that is so multi-determined, and that so many people prefer to have that involvement with the grid, if you will, that it's really necessary, if you're going to have a discussion about surveillance, not to have a discussion that lumps commercial surveillance with government surveillance.
If there's been a new social contract, it's one that I certainly didn't sign. The fact is, I have to disagree with the distinctions that you're drawing between government collection of data and commercial collection of data. I like technology. I benefit from technology. However, when I signed up to get a cell phone contract, I did not agree to have my movements tracked, and for the government or other corporations to be able to have access to my movements, where I've been, whether my cell phone has been outside an Alcoholics Anonymous meeting, or outside of a lover's apartment, or outside of a doctor's apartment, or at a political organizing meeting. I didn't sign up for that, and it's within our control to stop that type of informational dissemination.
You know, Clark, I want to bring in this because you're on the other side of this. In terms of the security business, do you know where the line is?
We are there to protect our clients and their properties, many of whom are targets. We will use whatever means necessary. Obviously, we have legal counsel also, but we will use whatever means necessary to protect our clients. Let me be honest here. Our concern, which is not to worry about the law, we're concerned with giving the type of protection that the client requests.
I'll give you the flip side. You're a kid at Yale, you're a kid at a bunch of learning institutions that we know. Because they happen to be of the Muslim faith, because they happen to get together, a police department completely out of their jurisdiction will surveil them without a warrant, without reasonable suspicion or cause, and track their whereabouts, gather information on them. Do you think that's basically comes with the territory in the 21st century?
Listen, we were attacked on 9/11.
But those kids didn't attack us.
Right, but we don't want that to happen again. We're living in different times. I heard someone at the UN not too long ago say we are living in a state of insecurity. We have to do whatever necessary to protect ourselves and our citizens. And that's what we do on a daily basis. We're doing it right now as we speak.
The word security is used, national security is used to justify a whole host of unlawful activities by both corporations and the government.
I believe that the public is concerned about, first and foremost, their safety. And if this is what it takes, very simply, it is what it is. The public is saying, I want to be safe. I want my family to be safe. As a security provider, that's what we're there to do. We're there to save lives. Everything else is secondary to us.
I think a lot of security that goes on now is in the nature of cover your ass. It's not effective. It's overbroad. And it's done for the purpose of being able to say, if something happened, well, we did everything we could. And that's not a basis on which to sacrifice fundamental rights about how this country is supposed to be constructed. And when I see that the breaches of those rights are frequently ineffective, I can only hope that when people look at the balance, see that these widespread intrusions are ineffective, recognize how intrusive they are, they're going to come out and strike the balance in a different way.
Hi.
I think that we see an increasing use of agents provocateur and FBI infiltrators who, you'll notice at holidays, we see a lot of stories such as the Newburgh Four and other individuals who were in many cases vulnerable people who we think were set up by the government. And I think that's a way of the government saying we've scored some victories. But when you really look at the facts, as Carl said earlier, they're not doing what I would think is a really effective sort of groundwork of really analyzing prospective crimes and stopping that.
Of course, the public wants building security. Of course, the public wants to feel physically safe. But in order to achieve that, the government does not need to know every last bit of data and information about what we do. It does not need to know who our political associates are. It does not need to amass that on law-abiding persons who have done nothing wrong, who want to go to a political organizing meeting without it being put into an electronic dossier. So there is a balance that needs to be struck. But what you said at the onset is, again, critical. The rollout of mass surveillance technology has happened without public disclosure and debate. There should be federal oversight hearings.
Well, Carl, since 9/11, we've had a Republican and a Democratic president. In both cases,
Yes.
Department of Justice has seemed to go either see no evil, hear no evil, or we got to do what we got to do in a post-9/11 world. What reasonable expectation should the public have that this debate will ever be engaged, the Supreme Court will ever actively take it on and limit any of basically the freedoms of the government or private industries to look in? Hasn't the horse already left the barn?
It has not left the barn, but you are correct. We can't wait for Congress to take leadership. We can't expect either a Democratic or a Republican president to pull back on massive executive authorities. Who is going to make the difference? The people are going to make a difference. They know that. If the people demand oversight hearings, there will be oversight hearings. And if the oversight hearings expose that there has been a massive warehousing of personal data on law-abiding persons, that will trigger a political backlash that will change the landscape. That's why at BigBrotherAmerica.org, at our website, our first step is to demand that there be disclosure from the government of the scope of data warehousing data dissemination and let the public have its rightful voice, its say about what its personal data is put to use.
Well, I'll only say this. We debate seemingly throughout this whole election season the role of government and the fear of government getting too big. This is one debate I haven't heard yet. Hopefully, maybe in the subsequent debates, we will. Gentlemen, Heidi, thank you all very much. I appreciate a few minutes.
Thank you very much.
Now, if you want to see more of what our guests had to say about living in a surveillance nation, please just head over to our Facebook account, and while you're there, drop us a comment or answer our question. If you have nothing to hide, should you worry about privacy? Stay with us. My final thoughts when we return.